Hey class, today I'm just going to go over a mini lesson on quotes and how to best implement them throughout your paper. So first off, as you all should know by this point, the quotes that we will be using, the style that the quote should be in, I should say, are an APA format. So I'm sure Jesse or may have heard it in your previous classes in high school or throughout your life, whatever it may be, but the OWL at Purdue is a great website to reference for any citation questions or formatting like headers, running headers, anything like that. So in the email that I will be sending out, I will include that link for you guys to reference, so just be aware of that. So these are the very basics of APA citation, and I encourage you guys to go on that website and look into it further just to make sure that you're doing everything right and to double check your work, because that is a kind of a big portion of your final grade for the project 1 and project 2 that we will be doing later. So one way to cite your sources is to do it like this in this first example. So you can say, according to Jones, who is the author, and then parentheses, put the year that article was written, and then go into your quote. So you can say, according to Jones, 1998, students often had difficulty using APA style, especially when it was their first time. Another way to do it is to say, Jones, 1998, found students often had difficulty using APA style. End quote. What implications does this have for teachers? Then lastly, for example, students often had difficulty using APA style, especially when it was their first time. Jones, 1998. So ultimately, you have pretty much three basic options to choose from. You can start off with your author, as this first example did, saying, according to the author and the year that was published, then put your quote in. Or you can just go right into saying, Jones, and then the year that the article was written, found students often had difficulty using APA style. And then that doesn't have to be the end of your sentence. The end of the quote does not have to mean the end of the sentence. You can get really creative with this, as the second example did. And they put a semicolon and went further to even ask like kind of a rhetorical question. Lastly, you can say, for example, then put the quote, and at the very end include the citation with the author and year. So a general theme with APA style in-text citations is that you don't need to include the title of the article or website or book. So what's most important is the author's name and the year. If there's a page number, however, you would include it, like for this first example, you would include a P for page and a dot, and then say page 199. For this example, you would put it right here before the semicolon, because this is when your quote has ended. And then, yep, that's how you would do those two. Alright, so now I want to go into how to include quotes within your paper in a more natural setting that is not so cliche, talking about APA style. So when you're in your paragraphs, in your body paragraphs, and you use quotes, I have an example of what that may look like here. So I'm just talking about a pretty general topic of homelessness in San Francisco. And these are quotes are entirely made up by me, and that's my last name, so don't think that any of these quotes are actually factual. So it's, in San Francisco, 75% of residents state they see homelessness and its effects daily. So what I see a lot of students doing is doing proper APA citation, great lead up to the quote, perfect in-text citation at the very end, but then they just go right into another quote that's entirely different. So they say, further, 50% of tourists have traveled to San Francisco do not feel that the city is doing enough for its population than the proper citation. Even though that this is perfect citation and this does make sense and it flows, well, not that it flows, but it is grammatically correct and follows the guidelines, it just kind of jumps from idea to idea with no fluency or transition between. So I think that it would be really beneficial to include this little analysis of a sentence in between the quotes to separate it out. So for example, instead of just going from this quote to this quote, I'm going to say, in San Francisco, 75% of residents say that they see homelessness and its effects daily. CUIC 2017. Due to this issue, tourism has been negatively affected in the city, thus inhibiting economic growth. So what I did there was just go off of what the quote is saying and put it in my own ideas, in my own words. this sentence right here is called an analysis, and that is crucial in your body paragraphs in your whole paper because it relates the ideas from the quote to your thesis. Whatever your thesis may say, just think about your analysis as relating back to that every single time. It's like, hey, don't forget about this. Hey, reader, don't forget my main point. This is my main argument. This is what I'm talking about. Rather than jumping from idea to idea, this little sentence here separates it out and gives the reader a more idea of what the argument is you're trying to create, and makes you seem more credible because you're using this quote to your advantage here, expanding upon it and using your own words to do that. So after I have this quote, further 50% of tourists, blah, 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 CO 2017, it would be good to include another analysis. So that analysis is homelessness is an issue for the city because it creates a negative view of the population and appears as if it is abandoning a portion of its residents. So I went off what this quote is saying and I explained it in my own words, but I went further. It is not a simple restate or rearrange what the quote is saying and put that in your own words. It's not that. It's expanding upon it and putting it relating it to your thesis and making it your idea. It not only makes you seem more credible to the reader, but also gives your paper a better flow and gives it more concrete evidence and explanation as to why you're even including this quote, because this quote could seem otherwise irrelevant if I didn't include the analysis to it. Think about it like you don't want to have a quote without analysis, and you wouldn't just throw analysis out there without a quote to support it. So they go hand in hand. All right, that's all I have for today, guys. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to go ahead and send me an email. Good luck with the rest of your project.